Friday, my friends. Time for fresh canned news for the 4th day of January, 2019. And we started the day off with mostly clear skies, temperatures in the upper 20s to lower 30s this morning. And temperatures have quickly warmed up into the lower 40s. Expecting afternoon highs to top out into the upper 40s. Not quite as cold tonight, and even warmer temperatures on tap for tomorrow and Sunday. Along with it, a chance of some rain moving in by Sunday night. Complete details on the forecast coming up at the end of this newscast. In the news today, an individual surrendered without incident after a heavy police presence in the 300 block of South William Street, Moberly, yesterday afternoon. Moberly Police Chief Troy Link says there were no injuries.
Basically, what it boiled down to is that our officers responded because we had received information of a person that was exhibiting indication of some form of mental distress. That individual was not receptive to the officers being on scene, nor was he willing to come out and surrender to them. We got set up and continued to contact him. I think we had a friend of his that was actively involved in speaking with him through a crisis negotiator, and the individual agreed to come outside and surrender without incident.
Link explains what the legal process is from here on.
He's been taken into custody at this time. I'm sure he'll be evaluated to see if he needs any form of further mental assistance or mental health assistance for this incident or whatever else he may already have going on. Right now, we're all good to go. We took precautionary means and measures. St. Pius School, which is very close to this location, was notified, and they altered their dismissal time and location. And then I notified Moberly Public Schools as we were going to have the street obstructed. We didn't want buses in the area or drop-offs in the area, so they were altering their bus routes and drop-off locations as well.
Troy Link with the Moberly Police Department. The situation developed around 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon and lasted for less than an hour. Meanwhile, Moberly Police Chief Troy Link is passing along his personal thanks for assistance in this week's double homicide investigation that led to the arrest of 4 Moberly men on Tuesday.
For an administrator, for the chief of police to see your people unselfishly stop family, especially over the New Year's holiday, right after Christmas and all that, it's impressive to me to know that they dropped what they was doing at home. They come to work, they put the hours in, they did the job, they did it extremely well, and I can't be more proud of the effort the officers and staff at the Moberly Police Department put in.
20-year-old Christopher Esri has been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of robbery. Troopers and Monroe County deputies located Esri's vehicle and conducted a felony traffic stop off of Highway 24 on the east edge of Madison around 6:40 Tuesday night. After they received information that he was traveling within the county, authorities took Esri into custody without incident and took him to the Randolph County Jail in Huntsville. 29-year-old Travis Koenig and 40-year-old Aaron Bloss are both charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder, and 22-year-old Stephen Bell is charged with tampering with physical evidence. They were taken into custody earlier Tuesday as well.
We had help from Randolph County Sheriff, Monroe County Sheriff, Missouri State Highway Patrol, Randolph County Coroner. They all provided officers and information to this investigation. But what made this work, what made this possible for us to get 4 people in custody in such a short period of time was because the citizens of Moberly and Randolph County, very early in the investigation, began calling us and providing bits and pieces of information. And those bits and pieces of information, when we started stringing them together from the various sources, is what led us in the direction we was able to go.
The 2 men found dead over the weekend were identified as 51-year-old Darren Stacy Tharp and 24-year-old Shane Austin Hare, both of Columbia, Missouri. Just before 11:30 Saturday morning, the Moberly Police Department was informed of a suspicious vehicle in the 600 block of Concannon Street. Officers located the vehicle and found the 2 dead men inside. Both appear to have died from gunshot wounds. Link says the investigation is far from over.
The mountain of report writing that has to be done. The videos of the recordings of our interviews all have to be put down on paper. We have, I'm guessing, probably over a dozen preservation requests for folks' cell phones, Facebook accounts, and things like that have already gone out, and I expect there's going to be more. I don't know exactly right now how much digital storage we're going to need, but I'm figuring that we're going to be close to a 2 terabyte range on what we're going to put on a hard drive.
The Randolph Randolph County coroner has ruled the deaths as homicide, and the autopsies were performed Monday by the Boone County Medical Examiner's Office. Bond for all 4 suspects has been set at $1 million, cash only. 2 people were charged on Wednesday after their 2-year-old daughter was found dead when she apparently fell through a hole in the floor of their home on South Walnut Street in Eldon, Missouri. According to court documents, Mark and Jamie Mitchell allegedly consumed marijuana and alcohol on December 19th. That same night, Mark's foot went through the bathroom floor of the home while he was getting ready for work the following day. Mark told police he woke up on the morning of the 20th and found that his daughter was missing. Mark and Jamie then allegedly began looking for the child and called police. Once police officers arrived at the home, Mark continued searching for the child and found her in a crawl space located under the house. Mark handed the child to the officer through the hole in the bathroom floor. Medical personnel pronounced the child dead at the scene. Mark and Jamie were both charged with first-degree endangering the welfare of a child. A Columbia man charged with filming patrons in the restroom of the Columbia Public Library is now facing additional counts of rape and sodomy and has reportedly fled to Iceland. Court records filed in Western Missouri U.S. District Court showed that 42-year-old J. Paul Robinson is facing felony charges of fleeing to avoid prosecution. While his current whereabouts are unknown, federal agents believe he has traveled to Iceland to avoid prosecution for state charges and multiple other sex crimes discovered during the course of the investigation. Robinson was arrested on August 2nd of last year on suspicion of invasion of privacy after officers responded to the library staff's discovery of a hidden camera in a restroom. Video from the camera showed patrons using the restroom and Robinson concealing it, according to a press release from the city. Federal agents in the affidavit filed Thursday stated the footage obtained from the camera found in the library and evidence obtained from other electronic devices following the execution of a search warrant showed Robinson committing multiple additional sex crimes. Additional charges were filed under seal on October 19th in Boone County and include rape and 11 counts of sodomy. A person from the outer state of Missouri has been charged with multiple felonies in Lynn County, Missouri. Police were called to a home in Brookfield in reference to an assault last week. Once there, they learned that 21-year-old Jacob McLaughlin from Tacoma, Washington, allegedly got into an altercation with the victim at the residence. Officers observed multiple bruises and wounds to the victim during the investigation. The victim told law enforcement the confrontation occurred after McLaughlin told the victim to clean the kitchen. McLaughlin was formally charged with felony domestic assault in the first, second, and third degrees. At last report, he is being held at the Macon County Jail on $40,000 cash-only bond. In national news of interest, Senator Elizabeth Warren is reportedly moving quickly to gain an advantage in early voting in Iowa by naming top political staff with experience in the leadoff caucus state before she makes her first campaign trip there as a likely presidential hopeful this weekend. The Massachusetts Democrat on Wednesday hired 4 Democratic operatives, all with Iowa resumes, including rising stars from the 2018 midterms. The move comes after she established a presidential exploratory committee on Monday. While other prospective 2020 Democratic candidates visited Iowa last year, Warren's quickly planned first trip, and Iowa hires demonstrate that she plans to campaign aggressively for the caucuses. Back here in the Show Me State, more than 10% of Missouri House seats are now vacant after a St. Louis lawmaker resigned for a local office. Democratic Representative Michael Butler was sworn in Wednesday as the St. Louis Recorder of Deeds. The House released a letter Thursday indicating Butler had resigned Monday night. Butler was one of 4 lawmakers who resigned at the end of last year after being elected to new jobs in local government. Others left early to take jobs in Governor Mike Parson's administration. Still others resigned to try to avoid being affected by a new constitutional amendment lengthening the wait before lawmakers can become lobbyists. The 163-member House now has 17 vacancies. The resignations are the most of any year in records dating back to 1994. A new legislative session begins on Wednesday, January 9th. And following the defeat of Proposition D last November, state lawmakers have been discussing the best way to move forward in addressing transportation funding in the state of Missouri. State Representative Tim Remley explains the latest developments.
We want a standalone bill that has to do with transportation only, and there's some really good things that happen. I've actually talked with Jeff Messenger, representative from the southern part of the state, and he had some good things in place, and unfortunately we didn't go with some of his thoughts, and I'm hoping to relive some of those good policies I thought he could bring to the table for the people to look at. They were the single item issues that I think the voters really want to see, a transportation bill just for transportation.
Remley was asked if this means placing another issue before voters.
We're going to see about that. I'm not sure. I'm hoping we do bring something up for them to look at. And I'm taking a lot of input from a lot of our people in our district. And they said if, we had a standalone bill with an increase that is explained that will go for roads and bridges, they'd be in favor of it.
The new legislative session will be gavelled in on Wednesday. One of the new prefiled bills during the upcoming legislative session in Missouri could have significant implications on public school districts. Representative Chuck Basie's new bill will regulate schools from starting classes no earlier than 10 days prior to Labor Day.
Basically, the problem is I understand that school districts want to do their own thing, and I get that. But it is interfering with two major industries in our state. The state fair is affected by the earlier start dates every year. It gets earlier and earlier in many school districts. And also it affects the tourism industry, especially down in south central Missouri, the floating industry and the Lake of the Ozarks. There were some people that run businesses that came and testified in front of the committee, and it really makes it hard on them.
A similar bill had previously been filed last year by Representative Jay Houghton. Basie puts it into perspective how early some schools have been starting their classes.
Columbia in 2013, the Columbia Public Schools started on the 18th of August. Next year, in 2019, they start on the 13th. When is it going to stop? What is their goal? Is their goal year-round schools? I mean, you can't get any kind of reasonable answer from anybody. The one thing that glares out, if you look at their schedule, is all these teacher work days they have built into their schedule. It's not going to be a hindrance to the school districts. They're going to act like it is, but it's not.
Last year's bill did not gain much traction, according to Representative Basie. Hallsville Republican Sherry Tolson Reich will have plenty to look forward to in the new year as she backs a number of job-creating bills. She explains the task that is ahead of her.
The parental rights bill. It's basically saying that it's a parent's fundamental right in the upbringing, education, and care of their children. The other one I've filed so far, this has to do with, I call it an employer freedom bill, where if you're a felon, you've served your debt to society, and you want to integrate back into your community, you need a job. And currently, state law prohibits you from working in establishments that serve alcohol or sell alcohol. So I'm hoping to push that along.
Reich also wants to focus on military veterans and police officers during the upcoming session.
Any day in Missouri, there are over 2,000 law enforcement openings. We need more police officers, and it's hard to find people. So the police officer standardized training program is, this bill asks that they do a crash course. This would mean like if you were National Guard or in the military as a military police officer, you've already met about 80% of the qualifications. So this would get it done in about 2 weeks versus about 4 months. It would get these people that are getting out of the military jobs quicker.
The new session begins on Wednesday. A report of smoke caused a brief evacuation for some northeast Missouri residents the other night. Residents in the Kirksville Apartments complex on Jameson and Normal were evacuated briefly around 11 o'clock Wednesday evening. Kirksville police officers say they were called to the scene and of a report of smoke and possibly a fire alarm coming from one of the units. The Kirksville Fire Department arrived to investigate. No fire was located, though, and after checking each unit, residents were allowed back inside. Multiple fire trucks and police officers assisted at the scene. Meanwhile, a traffic stop yesterday morning by Hannibal police officers resulted in the arrest of 2 people on methamphetamine charges. Anti-crime enforcement squad officers stopped a vehicle occupied by 22-year-old Miranda Ferry and 36-year-old Britton Friday of Hannibal. A vehicle search turned up a large amount of crystal meth. Both Ferry and Friday were taken into custody by the authorities and sent to the Marion County Jail on a 24-hour hold, pending the filing of formal charges of manufacture and delivery of a controlled substance. Crash happened around 3:30 yesterday afternoon between a school bus and a vehicle. The crash happened near Lakeland Road on Warren Barrett Drive. The school bus did not sustain much damage, but the vehicle did have to be towed from the scene. The Shutdown Fire Protection District was busy last year. According to a recently released report, in 2018, they responded to a total of 102 calls for service, which was a record-breaking total number for the district. The Shutdown Fire Protection District responded to 8 structure fires, 4 trash rubbish fires, 18 grass or brush fires, 7 vehicle fires, 20 vehicle accidents, 7 vehicle accidents with injury or extrication, 1 missing person search, 4 gas chemical carbon monoxide calls, 10 medical helicopter landings, 1 animal rescue, 1 medical assistance check, along with 5 canceled en route, 3 smoke scares, 4 automatic fire alarms, which turned out to be false, and 9 mutual aid given to other departments. Attention Missourians who have not paid their personal property taxes for 2018 yet. Those payments are now overdue. You didn't need me to tell you that, but officials apparently do. Personal property taxes were due at the end of 2018. Randolph County Collector Sheila Miller explains what to do if your payment is now late.
If they haven't paid, they need to be sure and pay the amount on their statement next to the amount they pay in. Otherwise, it will be returned for the penalty and interest. We have to honor the postmark.
Miller outlines how the penalties work.
The taxes, according to state statute, have a penalty and interest added to the bill. In January, it takes the biggest hit because the penalty is added all at one lump sum, where the interest is 2% a month up to 18%. So in January, they can get hit with 11% additional by paying late. That's why we have tried to encourage everybody to pay by December 31st, but some of them weren't able to do so, and so they will need to pay that additional amount. And then it'll go up an additional 2% each month.
Payments must be mailed to your local county agency. Miller says that cautions residents that the post office is not allowed to forward payments sent to the downtown address in Randolph County as the forwarding window has expired. Meanwhile, work on the new Randolph County budget is expected to be completed within the next few weeks. Presiding Commissioner John Truesdale says a firm date for completion of the spending plan is still up in the air.
We hope to have the budget completed by the 22nd of January. Not saying that that is going to be the actual day of it. That's what we're anticipating, what we're shooting for, and what we're hoping to have on the 22nd. If we get down to that point, we still have some items that if we need to do any kind of cutting or need to do some more evaluation, we can extend that on just a little bit farther. But the thing that happens inside of our budget is we can't write any checks or do any work here in the course of January until after that budget is set and approved.
Eastern District Commissioner Wayne Wilcox says there is some good news in looking back on the 2018 budget.
Prisoner cost per diem. We thought when we had to really tighten up on the budget, we thought we may never see any of that money. We basically got everything in arrears. So if they'd have ever paid us current, picture would have looked even better. And in the big murder trial, we got accolades for how we handled the jurors, a big testament to our bailiffs and to our circuit clerk's office. We were able to save part of the money that we had allocated for that big trial.
Wayne Wilcox, Eastern District Commissioner for Randolph County, Missouri. A Westphalia man, 82-year-old Charles Eisholz, was killed when the vehicle in which he was a passenger was involved in a 2-vehicle crash in Callaway County yesterday. The Missouri State Highway Patrol says that around 9:20 last night, 78-year-old William Schulte of Westphalia was following a car driven by 22-year-old Justin Ward of New Bloomfield, as both were westbound on Highway 54 near the intersection of County Road 318. Ward slowed at the intersection and made an improper left turn from the right lane of the highway and drove into the path of Schulte's vehicle. Ward's car skidded off into the median after impact before coming to a stop, while Schulte's vehicle came to rest in the westbound lane of Highway 54. Eichholz was first taken to Jefferson City Hospital, where he later died. No injuries were reported for either Schulte or Ward. Meanwhile, traffic crashes over the New Year's holiday travel period claimed the lives of 8 people around Missouri. The Missouri State Highway Patrol says that none of the fatalities occurred in northeast Missouri. There were 7 fatalities a year ago over the same holiday period. This year's counting period began at 6 o'clock last Thursday night on the 28th and ran through 11:59 p.m. on January 1st. Troopers reported 352 crashes overall, resulting in 112 injuries. There were 127 DWI arrests statewide. Preliminary data from the Missouri Department of Conservation shows that deer hunters in Missouri harvested 12,080 deer during the recent alternative methods portion of the fall firearms deer season, which ran from December 22nd through January 1st. Of the total harvest, 3,081 were antlered bucks, 1,586 button bucks, and 7,413 does. Top harvest counties were Callaway, Osage, and Franklin. The harvest total for last year's alternative methods portion was 10,027. Deer hunting continues for this season, with statewide archery hunting through January 15th. The Centralia School Board is now considering whether or not to run a levy or bond issue, or both, on an upcoming election ballot. Centralia School Superintendent Darren Ford fills us in.
Well, the board has discussed both a bond issue to upgrade a lot of our facilities here in the district, and they've also discussed a levy to increase our operational funding. We are being very calculated about that. We had a meeting before break, and the board did not come to a decision, but I think everybody's on board with the fact that something needs to be done. We're just still trying to work out exactly what that is and what the best timing would be for that.
Ford says a number of issues still need to be addressed.
One of which is we've got some HVAC issues at the high school, as well as the high school needing some upgrades. So I would certainly think that if not before, certainly by next April, we would definitely have to move forward with something. And that's not to say the board doesn't reconsider this in January. We would need to make a decision in January if we were going to put anything on this year's April ballot. And our board meeting's the 14th.
The Centralia School Board has been talking about potentially placing an issue before voters for the past few months. Meanwhile, for Glasgow School Superintendent Mike Reynolds, he says a number of highlights from the first semester of this year came right before the recent Christmas break.
Thanked our music instructors, our vocal glee club instructor, Mrs. Gladden, and our instrumental music instructor, Mr. Ty. They produced 2 wonderful Christmas concerts, and we had capacity crowds, and it's always nice to have an area filled with parents and grandparents, and they had lots of positive comments afterwards. And we made sure to thank our local police department and all of our patrons and parents who volunteered for the Glasgow tournament. It's always a huge success, and this year was no different than years past.
Reynolds also has been looking forward to the upcoming legislative session.
I tell my staff each and every time that we meet, a good year for a school district is when you have no changes with your legislators, when they're overwhelmed with other things and tackling other problems and education's left alone. I think that's an excellent session. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and hope that those folks that represent us move the right direction.
A number of education issues are expected to be discussed during the legislation that begins in less than a week. A Jefferson City woman and her 3-year-old daughter were both slightly injured in a single vehicle crash a few miles west of the capital city Wednesday night. The Missouri State Highway Patrol says that 23-year-old Alexandria J. Koopman lost control of her Jeep on southbound Route D, a mile south of Route C, at around 8:20 that evening. Koopman's vehicle went off the right side of the roadway, hit a guy wire for a telephone pole before coming to rest in a ditch. Culvert replacements will temporarily close routes in Shelby and Monroe counties this week and next. Here are the traffic impacts for the next few days, weather permitting. Monroe County Route B will be closed today from Monroe County Road 398, Shelby County Road 494 to Monroe County Route FF. Shelby County Route Z will be closed tomorrow from County Road 474 to County Road 376. All the work will be completed between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. each day. For more information, please contact the Missouri Departments of Transportation's Customer Service Center toll-free number at 1-888-ASK-MoDOT. That's 1-888-ASK-MoDOT, or go online to modot.org/northeast. And a reminder, numerous communities across the area, including Moberly, have scheduled their Christmas tree pickup in Moberly. As the holiday season has come to an end, trees may be placed at the curbside through Wednesday, January 9th. The City of Moberly asks that your tree be on the curb no later than 7 that morning. If you have any questions, please contact the Moberly City Hall at 263-4420, extension 2038. Phone number again is 660-263-4420, extension 2038. And taking down the Christmas decorations in Rothwell Park in Moberly is quite an undertaking. Moberly Parks and Recreation Department Director Troy Bach says that effort is now underway and is likely to continue into next week.
Light displays in Rothwell Park, I believe there's around 140 of them. Those are going to be coming down this week and next, and so we just want to take the opportunity to thank everybody for coming through the lights, both right here in Moberly and those from the surrounding area, and also thank Altruda for all the work they and their volunteers do in helping make that event happen for our community.
Bach adds that the displays draw visitors from quite a distance.
It certainly draws people from about 90 miles in each direction, and so it's a good draw for our town around the holidays. But those will be coming down.
Troy Bach says the winners of the department's coloring contest are available on their Facebook page. In farm news today, the U.S. federal government has been shut down for nearly 2 weeks now, and several important pieces of federal legislation remain in limbo, including the next farm bill. John Newton, chief economist for the American Farm Bureau Federation, expects lawmakers to make a lot of adjustments to the final bill once Congress does get back into session.
Well, I think obviously when you look at the Farm Bill, it does give USDA some time to implement those new farm program rules. So FSA staff and officials across the country will have, once they get back to work, will have to figure out and establish some timelines for when farmers will have to make some of those key program elections in that new Farm Bill.
Newton encourages farmers to look at the bigger picture in regards to the Farm Bill debate.
Well, I think one of the things, when you look at some of the deadlines or dates, I believe, for example, on the dairy title, Congress has 60 days to open sign up. But with some of these programs, I think the key for folks to remember is that this is an evolutionary change to the Farm Bill. When you get into the nuts and bolts of some of the key safety net programs that were in there weren't major changes made. So for some of the major field crops, there is a decision that they'll have to make prior to the spring planting on what program to choose, whether that's the agricultural risk coverage program or the price loss coverage program. But generally that decision's not made until the spring or prior to the spring. And then program payments for that aren't made for some time. So once FSA does get back to work, they'll have to work quickly to open those sign-up periods. But program payments and benefits from some of these programs are still a long way away.
Speaking of payments, the deadline for the Market Facilitation Program payments is a little over a week away, January 15th. Newton is still unclear if the aforementioned program is getting an extension.
I think farmers had an opportunity to get into their local FSA offices to do their paperwork with respect to the Market Facilitation Program. That's something that folks were encouraged to do. But going forward, we haven't had any conversations that I'm aware of on any type of extension of that deadline given the shutdown.
John Newton, chief economist for the American Farm Bureau Federation. Turning our attention to the weather forecast, and we'll see sunny skies for the rest of this Friday. Temperatures warming up into the upper 40s with west winds at about 10 miles an hour. Clear skies for tonight, lows in the lower 30s. Again, west winds at about 10 miles an hour. Sunny and even warmer for tomorrow, highs topping out at around 55 degrees. South to southwesterly winds at about 10 miles an hour. Clear Saturday night, lows in the lower 30s with light variable wind. For Sunday, winds out of the south at 10 to 15 miles an hour with partly sunny skies A little bit cooler, highs in the upper 40s to near 50, and then clouds returning by Sunday night. Along with it, a chance for showers developing Sunday evening, and rain after midnight, lows in the mid-40s. For Monday, cloudy skies with highs in the mid-50s, rain ending by mid to late morning. Again, highs on Monday in the mid-50s, and then slowly falling throughout the afternoon, with clear skies for Monday night, lows in the lower 30s. For Tuesday, clear skies, highs in the upper 40s, lows around 25. More the same for Wednesday and into Thursday. By Friday, looks like we'll see highs in the mid-40s, lows in the upper 20s. That's been a check of news and weather information for North and Central Missouri, for the Kirksville, Missouri area on this edition of Fresh Canned News for Friday, January 4th, 2019. Army Armament Chair News reporter and presenter Joe Hafner with you, saying that my time is up. I thank you for yours.